The drone footage shows the carrier, marked with a red cross, halt beside a building missing part of its roof and many of its windows. A Ukrainian medic darts out and peers briefly around the corner of the building as a casualty is brought out on a stretcher. Loaded quickly, the carrier heads away at high speed, coming under Russian artillery fire as it tries to leave the town. Pictured in the footage are the ruins of the small Donbas salt mining town of Soledar, and a fleeting scene from a battle where life, death, and injury have been measured in the past week in such near and not so near misses. Russia says its forces have seized control of the eastern Ukrainian town of Soledar after weeks of intense battles, but Kyiv said its troops were still fighting in the town. The Russian Defense Ministry claimed on Friday that its forces had wrested control of the salt mining town, where buildings have been reduced to rubble since it became the focus of a relentless Russian assault. Control of the town would allow Russia to cut off Ukraine's supply lines in the nearby, strategically important city of Bakhmut, and then block and encircle the Ukrainian units there, said the Russian Defense Ministry. Western analysts suggested that, if true, it would be at best a Pyrrhic victory, gained at a high cost to fighters from the Wagner mercenary group of Yevgeny Prigozhin, who claimed the town had fallen on Wednesday. However, Ukrainian officials denied the Russian claim, suggesting they were still holding on and counterattacking, with the Ukrainian military spokesperson Serhiy Cherevety reporting ongoing battles. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said in a late-night video address on Friday that Kyiv's forces continued to fight Russian troops in the city. Earlier, military spokesman Serhiy Cherevety said Ukrainian forces had the situation under control in difficult conditions. While the situation on the battlefield remained difficult to verify on Friday, by the week's end, geolocation of reports by Russian war correspondents from Soledar suggested Russian forces were in control of large parts of the town. Ukrainian forces, however, appeared to remain within Soledar's municipal boundaries, still fighting in the northwest, around the town's salt mine and railway junction. Ukraine still appears to control the road beyond the town, connecting neighboring Bakhmut and Soledar with Sloviansk and Kostiantynivka, whose capture would further threaten Ukrainian defenders in Bakhmut. What is clear is that the battle for Soledar and Bakhmut has become emblematic of the current state of the war on Ukraine's eastern front and more widely symbolic of the state of Moscow's offensive. For days, Kyiv has said its soldiers were holding out in Soledar in what has become one of the bloodiest battlefields of the entire war. Soledar, according to the Russians, has fallen to their hands, and this is going to be a big push for them to try to take Bakhmut. Battles have been ongoing since the truce that was announced by the Russians on the day of Orthodox Christmas. With a new Russian general to lead the war effort in Ukraine and what Russians call the liberation of Soledar. Russia's announcement came after the Wagner Group, a Russian mercenary military force heavily involved in the war in Ukraine, said its fighters had seized Soledar. The Wagner Group said they were in full control of the town. They even published videos purportedly showing their fighters walking through the town. Hundreds of Russian and Ukrainian troops are understood to have been killed in Soledar, which is in Ukraine's eastern Donetsk region, one of 4 partly occupied regions in Ukraine's east and south, which Moscow moved to unilaterally annex in September. The town had a pre-war population of about 10,000 people and sits above cavernous salt mines. Overall, the front lines have barely budged in the 2 months since Russia's last big retreat in the south. Ukraine is rearming for a planned push to drive Russian forces out of more territory, while Moscow is reinforcing its ranks in a bid to keep control of land it has already seized. The United States, Kyiv's foremost ally, has said a Russian victory in Soledar or even Bakhmut, a city 10 times larger where the Russians have so far been repelled, would mean little for the overall trajectory of the war. Even if both Bakhmut and Soledar fall to the Russians, it's not going to have a strategic impact on the war itself, and it certainly isn't going to stop the Ukrainians or slow them down. John Kirby, spokesperson for the U.S. National Security Council, told reporters at the White House on Thursday.